Going live. Going live. Hello, everybody. This is the Q&A live stream for 7/25, meaning the 25th of July. I don't know, it's late at night. Basically, I'm just going to be here, answering questions and stuff, and anybody who wants to ask a question, I will take questions and talk to people. How is it going, everybody? Hi, Adam. Damn it. Hi, Adam. Yay. Looking at my iPad, all of everybody's questions are being transmitted here. Talking to the phone, iPad. All right, first question. Have you ever played mandolin? I have played mandolin. I don't know much about mandolin. I was just actually on the phone with my good friend Elliot Klein talking about how he has to play mandolin for Legally Blonde, the musical, and he is dreading every second of playing mandolin. So that is my experience with mandolin. What's going to happen to Linkin Park? Man, I don't know. That news of Chester Bennington, actually, I was just saying this a little bit earlier, hit me a little bit harder than I thought it would be, just because, and I haven't really talked too much about it, but Linkin Park was kind of like the sound of my youth, and the way that Linkin Park and a lot of those other new metal bands, even though it's so cheesy, and it was so cheesy at the time, I was able to, really were able to tap into teenage angst in a way that I feel like very few artists ever could do. And so Linkin Park was like that for me. Just basically a means of expressing what teenage angst was. And it's looking back at it, it's cheesy, it's it's easy to write off, but it definitely affected me in a real way. So yeah, that's the legacy of Linkin Park, man. I might make a video about it, but probably not. The moment's passed. Anyway. Do you like Drum Corps International and the discipline of core and music and drill? That's something I'm getting asked a lot, and I know absolutely nothing about drum corps. And maybe I should. I've checked out some stuff that's really impressive, but it's just not in my wheelhouse at all. And it also might be a geographical thing because I'm from the East Coast, and on the East Coast, nobody cares, I feel like, or at least in urban areas, or urban, I mean like metropolitan areas. And I always get the sense that drum corps, at least in the United States, is much more of a, at least not East Coast sort of thing, more West Coast. But yeah, so you got a positive response on your YouTube channel. How would one build a culture of loyal followers like you have? Create excellent content, and then hopefully people will watch it. It's really honestly the biggest advice I have. I didn't really approach it with anything other than just trying to make the best stuff that I wanted to. I always say this, I always make videos that I want to watch. As long as you make videos that you would want to watch, you will attract like-minded people that will follow you. Yeah. So that is my thought. Hey Adam, what's your favorite time signature? Probably 4/4, but if I had to pick another one, 5/4. Probably 5/4. I'm a fan of 5/4. Look at that. It's light. Oh, that's a lot less harsh. That's good. Do you mentally read off letter names when reading music? How do you process written scores? That's a great question. No, absolutely not. Nobody is thinking the names of the notes as they're reading them. When you read notes on the page, when you're reading music, what you're doing is you're processing a shape, and you can figure out, or a shape like an idea, basically, and then you translate that shape directly into muscle memory on your instrument, whether it's bass or piano or a woodwind instrument or whatever. It's always this processing of a shape rather than thinking about letter names. The letter names are very important when you're learning how to conceptualize shapes and get shapes into muscle memory, but in the moment, definitely not. I'm not thinking about note names. That would be involves my conscious brain way too much. And when you're reading, you have to stay many steps ahead of your conscious brain. It's an interesting thing I might go into a little bit more detail later. Adam, any good tips for growing your chest hair? I wouldn't know. This is the lifetime. I'm not a very hairy guy. This is almost 29 years worth of chest hair, and there's not that much. So I'm not the right person to ask. What musician are you most excited to hear live? Ooh, that's a good question. I might have to think about that for a second. I've seen a lot of great people. I was saying. I never got the chance to see Rage Against the Machine live. That's my, yeah. Anyway, that didn't really answer your question at all. Do you use any transcribing software? No. If I need to slow something down, which is quite rare, I'm not really transcribing that much in the way of complicated music anymore. Meaning, like weird, crazy bebop lines or anything like that. If I need to slow something down, I'll use Ableton Live's time, like I guess the time warp function. I forget what it's actually called. I keep calling it time warp. It's warping function. If I need to slow something down, I'll just do it in Ableton Live. But I've heard that transcribe ! Is a really good one. Most of the time I really am not using a program for that. I'm just like bringing up Spotify or whatever and listening through that, or listening through Spotify. I am confused about what practice routines I should adopt to learn scales and figuring out chord shapes quicker. Do you have a link to something that could help me? Maybe a couple weeks ago, month ago, I practiced for 5 hours straight. And the whole process of me practicing for 5 hours straight was a little ridiculous, but I did link like my scale routine in that and like all the stuff that I was going through. So if you want to like look in the syllabus in the description of that 5 hour practice routine video, that might give you some ideas. I think that's all I'm going to say about it for right now. Can you make all of your videos A equals 432 hertz? I'm not going to do that. That would take too much time, and there would be no point on it. How would you adapt clarinet into a modern jazz group? I mean, modern jazz big band music has a lot of clarinet doubles on it, because clarinet is a very particular color. If you listen to any Maria Schneider or Darcy James Argue or any artist that has a woodwind section, basically Joe Phillips Jr., clarinet is used as like this coloristic sort of device for like jazz orchestras. In terms of like improvising with clarinet, you can do it. The problem with clarinet is whenever you're improvising, it tends to sort of bring the vibe into almost like a klezmer atmosphere if you're not careful, if you're doing it in the modern context, or it brings it into a very old school, like very 1920s hot jazz sort of area. It's difficult to make it sound particularly modern. I've never really checked out anybody who's done that, but maybe you could. I don't know. Is art rock more or less a pretentious term? Is art rock as a term more or less pretentious than IDM? I think both are pretty damn pretentious. Intelligent dance music. I think that's actually more pretentious. Art rock, at least, I don't know. It might feel a little bit better. I don't know. Which musician, YouTuber do you want to collaborate most with that you haven't yet? Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't mind doing like collaborations with Vsauce or anything like that. Mike from Idea Channel. Honestly, Idea Channel is like one of the reasons why I started my channel, and I'm really bummed that it's closing. But I've like adopted a lot of his style, a lot of his that channel's editing, just approach to video making from Idea Channel, and I think that just big YouTube hero of mine, I guess. I love Tom Scott's stuff. I mean, these aren't really musicians, but like I would love to like try and get in their world, or at least try and talk to them about some stuff. And of course, I haven't actually I've sort of collaborated with Rick Beato, Amy Nolte, and Jacob Collier, the YouTube music theory team. I would love to like actually hang out with them and do something like real in the flesh. That'd be really cool. But yeah. Hey Adam, do you work out? I have like one of those workout bar things just around the corner in my room, and that's basically it. How could I get started composing music for large ensembles? I'm still a teenager, and music school really isn't an option. I've been through AP Music Theory, but I'm still having a hard time. Large ensembles that's the difficult thing. That's the stuff why you go to music school. That's why you get the degree. It's because there's so much that goes into understanding balance and orchestration. There's a few good books. I think Berkeley Press has a good one, like How to Write for Large Jazz Ensemble or something like that. That's a good way of starting. But just, there's a lot of good arranging textbooks. Do you know how to write quintuplets in Ableton Live? I do. Just type that into YouTube. There's a bunch of tutorials on how to do that, actually. But it's a fairly straightforward way of doing that. Hey Adam, can you please take a double shot of tequila before you take this any further? I'm not going to do that. I don't have any tequila. If anybody wants to bring me some tequila, that'd be fantastic. I'll do that. I'll drink that tequila. Have you listened to Electro Swing? I have. I think it's entertaining. It's a fun aesthetic, but it's a fun, I guess like aesthetic, but it's not something that, it's like it gets cheesy really quick for me, I think. Because I know how like intense real swing can get, and Electro Swing is just like boring and repetitive compared to how like an actual swinging big band can actually like sound. So, yep. How do you feel about Joe Dart from Wolfpack? Amazing bass player. It's kind of hard not to say anything or to say much, but does your girlfriend like your videos? I've made her watch I made her watch every one of my videos when I was first starting out because I needed like some sort of feedback. It's like, is this good? Is this bad? And I'll still sometimes show them to her before I release them. In some of the earlier videos, like I said some shit that I don't know, like she's been good to like bounce ideas off of, because yeah, I'll just leave it at that. I'm selling these fine leather jackets. Great, good for you. Adam, what do you think will be the next trend genre? Well, dance hall has been the thing for the past whatever. I mean, future funk was sort of a thing, and it kind of is a thing, at least in pop. Or at least like this quasi weird nostalgia funk thing. I mean, that Katy Perry song, Chained to the Rhythm, and now that Calvin Harris song, Feels. There's a couple other ones where people are sort of approximating the vaporwave future funk thing, but for like pop music. I mean, that might become a trend. It hasn't really caught on, but yeah. Do you think you'll upgrade your rig? Depends on what rig you're talking about. I got a lot of rigs. Most of the time when I'm, talking about, for this live streaming rig, this is just my phone, and probably I won't update that because I don't really see much need to. I mean, it might be fun to stream in more HD, but honestly, I don't know the... Yes, Chon. Great. Congratulations, chat. You keep writing Chon. Chon's cool. Chon's great. I'm like, for the most part, when people just want to know my opinion about a band, I'm just going to say if they're great. Because I'm not going to talk about something all that much beyond they're great and I like what they do. I think most of the time when people just say like, hey, this is a band, that's great. Yeah, anyway. Do you think Jon Snow is Azor Ahai? Clearly. There's a couple other theories. I mean, it could be a combination. It could be Danny, but I think that's the obvious one. That Jon Snow is Azor Ahai, or it could be like a really huge, ridiculous fake out, and I don't know, Hot Pie is Azor Ahai. That would be really funny. And the thing is going off because my girlfriend is cooking at 12:45. 12:45. Yeah, cooking some chicken. Sorry. Girlfriend reveal at 300,000? Maybe. Yeah. It's okay, Adam's girlfriend.
I'm sorry.
Adam, do you think that you're going to do more contributions to your Adam Neely Eats Things channel? I want to, but I forgot the email and forgot the password that I used to create that channel because I created it 9 years ago, something like that. So I think that channel is probably dead. I might just like make a new one at some point, but that is probably my favorite thing, the Adam Neely Eat Things, so, how would you initiate getting your band out for gigs? Booking is a pain in the ass, man. Find the local venues. make sure before you start booking, make sure that you have a demo, preferably some sort of video, some sort of social media presence, like on Facebook or something that you can send a booker, and something like some guarantee that people will come out. So you need a fair number of things before you start getting gigs, but demo is very important, or at least some sort of recording, preferably some sort of video, some sort of social media, some sort of graphics, a lot of stuff like that, and then you can start booking gigs. You could get gigs before all that, but that's like if you're going to start cold calling people, that would be important. Tips for finding venues that want original music. indieonthemove.com if you're in the United States. That's the best way I can describe that website is like Yelp for musicians. It's just a directory of all the like local music venues across the United States, and it is great. And I think they might be expanding internationally soon if they haven't already, but it's great, very useful website. Are you sober? I am very sober right now. Painfully sober, you might say. Yeah, trying to not drinking unless I am out, sort of thing. The drinking while you're at home gets old very quickly, and I'm kind of done with that. That's how you know I'm getting old. Collab with Davey 504. I mean, maybe. I don't really like do tread bass stuff ever, so I don't know what we would do, but maybe. What is your favorite color? Probably blue. Wanna fuck? Probably not. Would you recommend practicing about 4 hours a day? It depends on what you practice, and I mean, it depends on what your goals are. I think the more practice you do, the better, but you can get burnt out if you're doing it without a purpose pretty quickly. If you're going to be doing that often, practice repertoire, learn songs. Like, yeah, I mean, 4 hours is a long time, but you know that goes by pretty quickly if you're learning songs and playing songs. So that's my recommendation. Do you ever listen to Primus? Yes. Is it advisable to practice perfect pitch? No, not at all. I don't see the point. It's definitely something that I've never heard of it being learned. I mean, in all seriousness. So, effects of maturity on music interpretation. In terms of like, I definitely think that like older people, I don't know, depends on what you mean by maturity. It depends on what you mean by music interpretation. I think that young people in general can have an amazing technical facility, but not have the musical chops really on knowing how to like apply that. And it definitely takes a while to like make music like really feel good with your technical ability. So yeah, it's kind of a hard question to answer. How did you get involved with the Met Players? Met Players is my wedding and events band. I got involved Craigslist. I answered a Craigslist ad. I auditioned. They liked me, and then I kind of became a big part of the whole operation. It's a pretty big operation. So yeah, that's my relationship to that. Should I prioritize transcribing / covering before focusing on music theory? Is 1 hour a day too little? 1 hour a day is actually, I think, depends on what your goals are, I think. But 1 hour a day is a pretty solid amount of music making. I think 1 hour a day is manageable, and especially, you know, if you organize your time right. Prioritizing transcribing and covering, I think, is a very powerful thing for your practicing, because one, you never really run out of material to practice, and that's the way that most people before music academia, in fact, everybody before music academia learned, was by learning songs off of records and trying to play along. The music theory helps contextualize what you learn. It basically helps tell you what it is that you learned, and it also helps. It's a tool for helping you learn other things faster, and at least put it in your brain in a more real and concrete way. But you know, they're really, at the end of the day, transcribing and learning repertoire, learning songs. That's what you do as a musician. After once I started being a professional musician, whatever that means, but yeah, once I started doing this for money and regularly and performing with a whole bunch of different people, yeah, once I started that, then like learning songs is just basically what I do when I practice. I don't really practice what that 5-hour practice routine. I kind of do. I kind of do it here and there when I'm like warming up and trying to get ready for a gig and whatever. But it's learning songs. In fact, I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna show you guys what I'm doing. This is very high tech. This right here. Oh yeah. Oh, there we go. You can see it. You can see this Home Depot light and all of the random garbage around here. This is an Ableton Live set. I'm working on somebody's. This artist, her name is Emily Prime, a friend of mine. I mean, that's not her. It's not a real name. That's like a Madonna. You know, it's a stage name. Anyway, this is her Ableton Live set, and this is all the shit that I've been working on for her Ableton Live set. Basically, each one of these things is like a song. So this is her song Free Fall. This is her song Hunt to Kill, and each one of these other things over here. These are like all these, I don't know, background vocals of these like. Basically, if I press play here, let's see if you can hear it. So this is like the background track that will play when we like actually do the songs live. So it's like this, I don't know, it's this whatever electronic thing. And this is my practice routine. This is me practicing, essentially, is organizing her shit, organizing this stuff because I'm going to be running tracks and like playing bass and some other stuff for her set. That's what I do. I don't really, I learned her music. I worked really hard on like doing all this stuff, and it's all happening within a couple of days. And after we do this gig, I'm on to the next artist, on to the next thing that I'm going to learn. It's a lot of learning music, a lot of performing music at a high level, and going on to the next thing and performing it perfectly. That's basically what it is. So the more that you learn and the better that you can like actually work on learning shit, the better you will be set up to be a musician. And even if you don't do this professionally, and especially if you don't do this professionally, it's a lot more fun to just like learn songs and play along with songs. The music theory is just going to help you like contextualize it. I know that's a pretty long answer, and there's been about a million questions since then. So I'll just get to what I can. I'm sorry, guys, if your question hasn't been answered. I'm just going to try and get to what I can and all this. Holy shit. Holy shit. There are so many questions. I'm going to do my best. All right, sorry. Love jazz, but as a classical violinist, I'm usually separated from in my field. Does violin make appearances in certain jazz styles? It certainly does. Check out Jean-Luc Ponty. Check out Stefan Grappelli. Two very different styles. Jean-Luc Ponty played with the Mahavishnu Orchestra, jazz fusion. Stefan Grappelli is a gypsy jazz violinist. Violin can definitely appear. A good friend of mine named Ben Sutton, Sutin, plays jazz violin. Younger guy, fantastic. He does this like klezmer jazz sort of thing, which is great. So yeah, violin definitely has a place. It's a little hard to find swing. We always say like it's hard to find string players who can swing, meaning have a strong rhythmic concept, but they're definitely out there. So I cried listening to Mahler's Fifth at 440. I cried more at 432? Probably not. Love your stuff. Why you never talk about singers? I don't know enough. I feel like I don't know enough, honestly. And I'm gonna start bringing on some people in the relative near future. Perhaps my girlfriend actually is a fantastic singer. To talk about some singer stuff, because I think that's very important stuff to talk about. So singer stuff. Holy shit, so many questions. Your answer deserves a tip. Thanks, mate. No problem. How can I help create myself intricate rhythms? Transcribe intricate rhythms. Learn songs that you feel have intricate rhythms. Do it. Just do that. You ever get back pain? Yes, I stupidly did not do the best job with lifting weights today. I know, stupid. Anyway, but back pain from playing music, yes, I have. I've been working on my posture. My posture is absolute garbage. One thing I've been thinking about, somebody told me recently, is like, you should always be thinking about like a string being pulled up from the back of your head. That should help it. I don't know. I really need some posture help, Hey Adam, you posted on Facebook a Shub Saran song. I thought it was great. Any similar music? Oh, Shub, man. Shub is a fantastic guitarist. He's a jazz guitarist. He's kind of like he's an Indian jazz guitarist, and he does like this Indian jazz fusion, kind of along the lines of like a much more modern Mahavishnu Orchestra. Check out Mahavishnu Orchestra if you haven't checked out Mahavishnu Orchestra. They're awesome. Yes, John McLaughlin is awesome. But yeah, Shub is like a great guy. I play with him all the time, and his original stuff is really cool. There's so many questions. Can I develop perfect pitch through practice? No, and that's something I was saying earlier. Perfect pitch is something that I feel like most research has indicated that perfect pitch can only really be developed in early childhood. And, there's a bunch of, people trying to sell you things that are like, oh my God, this will give you perfect pitch. And it's like, okay, great. But I've never heard of that like actually going through and somebody saying like, oh, this will give you perfect pitch. The other thing is it even completely necessary to have perfect pitch? Because, perfect pitch is great. It can be very helpful, but having a strong relative pitch is more practical. And there's a bunch of reasons why perfect pitch actually might work against you in a lot of ways. Adam, what would you say one of the best things for someone going into college for music would be to know? Going into college, try and take advantage of as many opportunities that your music school will give you. Try and take everything that you hear from your professors with a little bit of a grain of salt. Not too much, because there's a reason why they're teaching you things, but know that they're professors in an ivory tower, and they don't have to work and they don't have to be a performing musician in order to make their living. They have a teaching job. And so all advice in terms of the career advice that they'll give you probably is about 20 years out of date. And the stuff that they can give you is technical information about how to perform and theoretical information about music. But in terms of actually being a musician out there in the real world, they're probably pretty clueless. What is the catalyst to kickstarting you getting into music? Also, why bass? I really admire your content. I hope you reach 1 million very soon. Thank you. The reason why I became a bass player is because somebody needed a bass player in the band that was starting in middle school. Basically, I started playing guitar, my dad's old acoustic guitar, and there was a band. Some of my friends were like, hey, we need a bass player. Can you play bass? I'm like, sure. And that was basically it. It's usually what it is where people play bass. So that was what started it. My mom is a musician, and I always had music around the house. I had been taking piano lessons for years. Had a pretty good understanding of a lot of music theory before I started bass, and that was like, once I started bass, I was like, all right, this is what I'm going to be doing forever. But I definitely had some experience in the whole thing for a while. Opinion of tuba can be a glorious sound, but it can also be really funny. So, sorry, tuba players, but same thing with trombone. Like a trombone choir can be amazing, but a single trombone can really kind of be sort of lame unless you're a really amazing trombone player. But this is what I think about tuba and trombone. The more of them there are in a single place playing like music, the like more majestic it is. But when it's just one of them, it's like a little sad. So that's my opinion on those instruments. I mean, bass guitar is the same thing. It's solo bass guitar, kind of a sad instrument, but when you put it in the context of a performing ensemble, it's great. What about violin? Violin is great. The people who do that can be kind of divas, but play violin can be kind of divas, but I like it. It's a nice instrument. I have a question. What makes a good song? and what's way to constantly manufacture them? That's a great English right there. Any jazz tips? Play the lick and people will love you. Do you teach bass? How do you go over the lessons? I do teach bass. Not that often though. I'm not really taking any new students right now. I taught guitar and bass for 3 or 4 years before I started my YouTube channel, and mainly adult beginners, and it's a really illuminating experience because teaching forces you to be able to explain things that you do naturally in a way that somebody else can understand. And I recommend that everybody try and learn how to teach, because not everybody who can do things can teach. And the ability to break something down and the ability to identify a weakness in somebody and also figure out different ways for them to address that weakness is very important. It's not just information being thrown at a person. A teacher, the point of a teacher is not just to give somebody information, it's to help a person understand it, internalize it. And it took me a while to be able to do that for people, and it's still something that I'm like working on. I'm now teaching on a bigger platform. I'm now teaching on this YouTube thing. I'm looking at this camera thing right here, and 500 people are listening to me ramble about teaching theory, which I don't know any technical knowledge of, but recommend everybody learn how to teach. What colleges and programs should I look at for student learning audio production? I'm 16 and taking courses at early college right now. I don't know the good programs. I honestly don't, for audio engineering. That's just something that is kind of crack my neck. That's something I don't really know a whole lot of, and I think that somebody going into audio engineering should be very conscious of what they want to do afterwards. The same thing goes for musicians, like people who are just going in for instrumental performance degrees. Unless the reality of the situation in terms of work for an audio engineer in a major studio is becoming less and less by the year. All the major studios in New York City are closing. That said, people still go to studios all the time. There's a reason to go to a recording studio, but try and figure out exactly what it is that you want to do afterwards before you go into a studio. So I'm sorry I can't be too much more help there, but that's kind of what it is. Oh my God, you're gay. The lick is gay. Just great, guys. Great advice. I'm auditioning at the Manhattan School of Music for piano. Any advice? Depends on whether it's jazz piano or classical piano. If it's classical piano, I have no advice whatsoever to give you. I don't know anything about the classical program at MSM. It's very weird because I spent a couple years there. Very little interaction with the classical people. If it's jazz piano, advice is to just learn a lot of songs, learn a lot of tunes, be ready to work your ass off. Hey, Play the Mind. Oh, awesome. How's it going, man? Sup, any advice for a classical pianist who wants to start learning jazz? Started with Ebersold stuff, but meh. Yeah, that's a great question because I don't know a whole lot of technical stuff for piano technical stuff. Ebersol is very meh. Mark Levine's books are pretty good. The Drop 2 book and the Jazz Piano book at least gives you the technical ability to study. Basically, it gives you a technical way of doing what are called mechanical voicings. Drop 2 is a mechanical voicing for jazz piano. It gives you some basic tools for just really getting in and studying how to play jazz piano in a way that will sound authentic and is also very very much triggers your thinking brain. You really have to spend a lot of time thinking about where the notes are and developing a drop 2 voicing and going through all the permutations of drop 2. But you will know how to play a little bit more authentic jazz piano if you're going through the Mark Levine stuff. Mark Levine is kind of just a little bit more advanced Jamie Ebersol. Jamie Ebersol is it's paint by numbers for jazz. I don't want to hate on Jamie Ebersol that much, but it's for a while whenever we're us jazz musicians, because every weekend I'm playing a wedding. Basically, it's my day gig, or this is my day gig. But every weekend I'm playing some wedding. In the beginning, before the reception really begins, we're playing some jazz or whatever. And the way we all count into everything is Jamie Ebersol counts into all of his Jamie Ebersol recordings. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's that's the vibe. It's Jamie Ebersol jazz because that's what we want. It's kind of cheesy, but anyway. That's Mark Levine, and start transcribing Bill Evans. Just go Bill Evans. That's all you need to know. Hey Adam, would like to ask for advice because I've decided to go for graduation in piano here in Rio, Brazil. I'm already 25, kind of afraid of uncertainties. Feel all I got is my dedication. Yeah, I mean, the thing I always say about age, if you're 25 or 40 or whatever, going in and starting music, you can do it, but it is just going to be so much more difficult than if you were younger. Now, I don't want to discourage anybody because I think it's definitely possible. Anything's possible. There's nothing in your brain that is fundamentally different, and in fact, if you're older, it might give you a better grasp on who it is that you are and your ability to tackle certain problems and be able to work your way and think your way through certain problems, and your studies might be more advanced because you are older. But just because you are so much further behind just in terms of knowledge, it will take you longer, and it also will be more difficult when you're older. But I don't want to discourage anybody because I think it's definitely possible, and there's plenty of examples of people who start older, like later in life. And there's also a lot of emphasis a lot of people put on like what making it is, or like what your goals are. Like, even people who are younger, I know people who are like 4 or 5 years younger than me have already burnt out and dropped out because they get to be professional musicians. By dropped out, I mean like stopped doing music. Get to be professional musicians, and then they realize, oh, this is all that it is. Like an incredible grind, no real glory. Like people will say like, hey, good job, and then that's it. What is it that you're doing it for? What is it that you're doing it for? Are you doing it so somebody can say, good job, you were amazing, and feel good about yourself? Because that can only go on for so long, because at a certain point people will stop caring or won't care all that much. And then you have to really think about what it is that you're doing. Are you doing it to make money? Well, you're not going to make a whole lot of money. You will make some money as a musician, but nobody really goes into it for the money. So what is it that you're going into it for? And, then you have to really think about it. And then you have to really think about, well, you do it because you like music. And I hate talking in ways that might sound cheesy or trite, but, at the end of the day, that's why you do it. That's like the burning desire. Every day I wake up with this burning desire to do something related to music. Like this is burning, like, God, what else am I going to do with my day? Well, I suppose I'm going to like go up and like wake up and write a script for a YouTube video, and I guess I have to research all about how the mind understands music. Oh, great. And that's fine. I love what I do. But yeah, anyway. As a rock/hardcore drummer, do you have any tips for transitioning into learning jazz drums? And what do jazz bassists look for a drummer? As a jazz bassist, I like a drummer who can keep time. Timing is great. Keeping time is great. I also look for a drummer who can play fluidly and authentically in a jazz style. Although, like, I'm not really a jazz bassist in the sense of like an upright bassist. I'm just like a guy who plays jazz and knows stuff about jazz, but that's not really what I do. I formally trained in jazz. For jazz drums, there's just a rich, deep tradition that is quite different from rock. And I think just listening to as much as you can. Elvin Jones, if you haven't listened to Elvin Jones, your mind will be blown because he is quite a ridiculous drummer in ways that you probably haven't like heard before or like experienced, because it's not just chops, it's just the way time bends, the way that he creates color and releases tension. And Elvin Jones is big. Max Roach is awesome. You should definitely check out Max Roach. There's basically listen to some great jazz drummers. Advice for aspiring producer: I want to be Kanye. You won't be Kanye. There's only one Kanye West. Sorry. Advice for aspiring producer: like with anything, I think listen to as much as you can and try and imitate the things that you like, and do it shamelessly. Try and steal everything that you can in the beginning. It's across the board. Doesn't matter if you're a producer or a musician or whatever. Emulate the people that you like, because and don't worry if like people will say, oh, you're just stealing that from so and so. Yeah, of course I am stealing it because I like this thing. And then maybe find another producer you like and then steal that. And eventually you'll get enough under your chops. You'll understand enough more about like what they do that you'll be able to like start synthesizing it into your own voice. So can you talk about thematic improvisation? The style attributed to Sonny Rollins. Thematic improvisation is basically taking and Sonny Rollins is definitely a master of it, was taking like a single sort of idea, like the lick. Let's thematically improvise, shall we? It's different key, but I can't do it with my left hand. All right, I can try. I'm not doing it. But basically, it's taking this sort of idea, like some sort of basic lick, and then maybe inverting it. And taking the same sort of shape, inverting it, flipping it upside down. Maybe you then there we go. Inspired jazz we have right here, left-hand piano. I haven't practiced piano in a while, but it's basically taking the same sort of thing, flipping it upside down, moving up and down the scale, and it's fun. I like it. It's a very powerful tool. You're taking the same idea and repeating it over and over again. Adam Neely plays piano, huh? Yeah, not very well, very clearly, but yeah, I do play piano. Play what? Adam, can you explain some theory of jazz chord melody? Yeah. Definitely, it's a lot that would be too much to explain right now. Check out Mark Levine's The Drop 2 book. I might do more chord melody things. I might do more chord melody videos. I do have something called Harmonizing Sax Soli. It's a video of mine. It's an older video of mine, but that might be interesting to you if you ever want to get into chord melody, jazz chord melody. Could you do more in-depth videos on writing for big band or sax solos? That might be on the horizon. I almost that information I almost want to. I don't want to say it this way. The information that I got about writing big band music, I know the most about that. I'll say this. Like I talk about so much shit on my channel from here and there, blah blah blah. But I feel like that information about writing for big band is almost privileged information, if that makes any sense. It's stuff that has taken a long time to learn, and I'm going to definitely start working on some of that stuff, but it's stuff that I think there's a need for it, but I also know that a lot of people just aren't quite ready for it, because there's so much that you have to kind of understand on a technical level before you start writing for big band or orchestrating in the style like Mel Lewis or Thad Jones, or like more modern composers like Murray Schneider, who was took a page from Bob Brookmeyer and Gil Evans. I'll eventually start doing that, but that's some pretty intense shit. So intense shit. A cat's asshole. Is the cat? Can you see the cat? There's the cat. Say hi, cat. Oh no, he's dead. Okay. Where's the cat? The cat is back there. Do you think it's a good idea to steal and perform solos note for note, or is it better to work on your creativity? The way I like to answer this is, when you're first learning how to speak language, when you're first learning how to talk, you don't really care if you're stealing what your parents are saying. Your parents will be talking, and then you're going to try and imitate what they say, like, ma, da, 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 mama, papa. You try and imitate the sounds that you're saying, because that's just reflexive. That's what you should be thinking about when you're making music. Try and imitate the sounds that you're hearing and try and get it as close as you can. Don't worry about creativity. Creativity will come automatically. Creativity is something that you should worry about after you have the language in order to speak in any sort of way. I've never heard of anybody who has practiced and developed a large vocabulary of note soloing, notes for understanding solos note for note, and a variety of styles, and picking what you like here and there. I've never heard of a person doing that and authentically spending the time and really delving deep into learning music by ear, and then having a problem translating that into their own language. Most people get kind of hung up about I want to be creative, I want to have my own voice, without spending the time yet on understanding what it is that you like about other people. So I hope that answered your question. Hey Adam, when you're playing, do you visualize the music in your head? If so, how? Do you see it on a keyboard or a staff? Well, it depends on what instrument I'm playing it on. If I'm playing it on bass, I see it on the fretboard. Yeah, there's definitely a degree of visualization, like pre-visualization. That's something that a lot of people that I like to think about, like thinking about what it is that I'm going to play next, and like really make sure that I have that in my head. There's this quote that I think in my audiation video about Hal Gelper talking about how you need like Dizzy Gillespie, like I'm going to paraphrase this, but like Dizzy Gillespie, like somebody asked Dizzy Gillespie, so like, oh, how do you like, what do you think in your head when you're playing? He says, well, most people think that I think in my head, but what I actually hear in my head is, which is basically yelling. He like tries it and yells. Sorry, she doesn't like when I yell the lick out loud in the house at 1 a.m. Sorry, neighbors, and sorry, girlfriend. But basically, you have to like really intensely visualize what it is that you're going to play before you play it. Intensely visualize it on your instrument. Like really hear it in your head. Really be ready to play it before you play it. And then when you play it, it just comes out because you've already had it in your head, and it should be pretty natural. You're not thinking about it too much in the sense of your conscious brain isn't thinking about it. Your prefrontal cortex, the brain which I'm using right now, the part of the brain where I'm using several centers in my brain right now, but the thinking brain, the conscious brain, the brain which you think of your like the voice in your head, basically, that's not being engaged so much as other things, the auditory cortex, etc. So yeah, good question. Can we see girlfriend? Girlfriend reveal at 300K, I guess. That was what somebody said earlier. A lot of questions. Sorry, guys, if I haven't gotten to your question. Sorry if you're just joining me. I'm just doing a Q&A. I do these occasionally, live Q&As. They're fun. Basically, I just hang out and answer questions in a more informal method than what I normally do, which is, tightly edit things so that you don't see all the weird behind-the-scenes shit. I say shit a lot. Well, no time delay. Meme. Yes. Actually, fun. If you look up this, I'm giving a talk in Berlin. I'm really excited. And they just announced it. I'm giving a talk in Berlin in November. Ableton asked me to come to Berlin. I'm like, what? This is so ridiculous. But basically, I'm giving a panel on memes. I'm not kidding about this. I am legitimately giving a panel discussion on memes and music, which I think is the stupidest. I don't know who thought of that, but yeah, it's something Ableton Live calls a loop. It's crazy. Like Imogen, is that how you pronounce it? Imogen Heap's gonna be there. Andrew Huang is gonna be there. It's gonna be awesome. Hey Adam, could you wish me a happy birthday? Happy birthday, Jared Dubber. And what's your advice for those who want to play bother electric and upright bass professionally? Both. Oh, that's a great question. You want to see something sad? Well, maybe you don't. That's my upright bass right there. I haven't touched that in about 3 months. That's very sad. Don't do that if you're trying to do both professionally. You should play it more than 3 months. It's difficult. It's really difficult because you have to keep your chops up on upright. And upright, the chops require a little bit more maintenance than electric, I think. And my chops are gone to shit. I can't do anything on that instrument. I made that like electric bass or upright bass for electric players like at one point, and like even then, like my chops were kind of in disarray, playing with shitty intonation. It was bad. It was a bad video. Yeah, my upright's not the greatest. Anyway, tips. I think focusing on keeping your upright intonation in check, like make sure that you like really practice with a bow and all that good stuff. Let it be known that you play both, and have good quality equipment. I have a bad upright. I don't get called for upright gigs anymore because my upright is really shit. Occasionally I do, but not often. So, there's that. So yeah, keep your upright chops more in check than your electric chops. Like really make sure that you can nail the upright parts. That's my advice. I'm going to college soon for music and Didn't realize how much time music would take. Taking 10 classes this semester. Any tips to make this time count? Oh yeah, music school requires a lot. I mean, music in general, nobody really even knows, like begins to understand until you're in it, how much time music takes. It's your life. You have to your social life has to take a back seat, and your social life becomes your music life. All my friends are musicians. I don't know any non-musicians. They're not friends, or that are friends. Yeah, I really don't. And for some people that might be kind of sad, and I guess in a way that is kind of sad. Yeah, it really is. But my whole social circle, and it has been for a decade, is just music and just musicians. That said, that's not the only thing that I do with my music buddies. We don't always talk about music, and it can be really refreshing to get a bunch of musicians in a room together and not say a goddamn word about music, but that's like what it is. So, yeah. Tips for making time count. Yeah, just be conscious of how much time you're spending on what sort of activity in your life. This is just general time management stuff. Be conscious of how much time you're spending on music, how much time you're spending socializing, hanging out, drinking, etc. Blah blah blah. Be conscious of be conscious of it all, because you really have to make like music count as your primary profession. If you're doing it in school, that has to be what you do. I know a girl or woman. I can't really call people past the age of 25 girls. It feels weird. I know a woman. Calling people women also sometimes feels weird. Who got her master's in both biology and music, and it was the most ridiculous thing that I've ever seen. She was like such a ridiculous human being, because like those two degrees require so much work. Master's in music and flute performance plus a master's in biology. It's like some form of, I don't even know what kind of biology she was doing. That's like the only time I've ever heard of somebody doing like something at that high level and being able to do both. Most of the time it's just like you got to pick music if you're going to do it, because it takes so much time. Now if you do a music minor, that's something a little bit different. Music minors, you can definitely do it, but not music majors. So, to the person who keeps saying, "Are traps gay?" Get the fuck out. Just this is literally what you're doing. This is your life. You're just typing "Are traps gay" into a YouTube chat. That's what you're doing right now in life. This is how you are spending your life right now. Consider that. Time is precious, and that is what you're doing. So yeah. Who do you main in Super Smash Bros? Oh man, video games. I don't do Smash Bros. I guess I don't know what's like the noobiest one, and I'll definitely noob that. I'll do that. I'm just the noobiest. Yeah, I was actually considering talking about my social friends and like my social circle of musicians. We got drunk, of course. And decided that we all wanted to play Halo, and none of us had played Halo, I guess like 6 years or so, and everybody sucked, and it was great. It's great playing with people who really suck at video games. At what frequency does the flat Earth resonate, and why is it 432 hertz? So for the most part, in my 432 hertz video, got a bunch of people saying, "Oh, I can't believe people believe this. I can't." Whatever. You were really ballsy to like start the video off the way that you did, and then I had most people who private messaged me and like sent emails and stuff. I had some people who were vehemently for 432 hertz, and were like, "Please watch these half-hour-long documentaries about 432 hertz. Please watch these because it will open your mind. It really changed my mind to like all the coincidences and whatever." And I had watched these documentaries, of course. I had watched every bit of information I could find on 432 hertz. There's a bunch of stuff in my 432 hertz video I didn't even include because I felt like it was just, once you start like mentioning so many things, you kind of have to you have to pick and choose what you want to mention. I didn't talk anything about cymatics because it's something that's really dumb. It's basically cymatics is standing wave vibrations, and different body, like it's the whole like thing. If you put sand on a plate and it's supposed to vibrate better at 432 hertz, well, the entire point is that the plate was specifically tuned to 432 hertz. The reason why cymatics works the way it does is because the vibrating body will react in certain ways to different frequencies. So if you change the body in ever so slightly, it will produce a different pattern. And this is what instrument manufacturers have known is something called a Chladni pattern. So like you basically want the guitar or the violin to vibrate at certain frequencies, which the instrument will be tuned to. So you can tune the instrument to the vibrating frequencies. So you want to be able to tune like a guitar to like roughly, I guess, E or whatever, or like the harmonics of E, or like, I don't know, all that stuff. So you make the instrument so it tunes to the thing. And the way that you can test this out is by figuring out the Chladni patterns. And the guy who did it by like scraping a bow against a metal plate. And so then you can like figure out the like thickness of the plate. It's all this stuff that goes into cymatics and standing wave vibrations. None of it has a goddamn thing to do with 432 hertz. 432 hertz, that makes there's no mathematical reason why 432 hertz is any better than 430 in terms of like how it relates to standing wave vibrations. Didn't even talk about any of that in my 432 video. I didn't talk about all, like the Nazi correlation, because Germany was on a 440 standard the same way that many other countries were. 440 was a standard for a long time before Germany did. All these things are technically important for 432 hertz in terms of like debunking it, but it didn't fit the narrative and didn't fit the flow of what I was doing in the video. And eventually you just kind of have to pick certain things to mention, because there's just so much shit out there that you intuitively know why it's bullshit, because it feels lazy. It feels really lazy when people talk about 432 hertz the way that they do. But I just had to pick a point. Just say fuck it. When people with perfect pitch hear 432 tuned music, what kind of experience do you think they have when nothing falls into the recognizable pitch buckets wired in their brain? I was going to do an interview with a friend of mine named Tyreek Jackson, who has perfect pitch. Didn't get to it in time before Monday, unfortunately, before the deadline of Monday. Which really sucks that I have a deadline, by the way. Sometimes I like really just want to spend a little bit more time on some certain videos, but I have a deadline. But anyway, I was going to do an interview with him about how he hears 432 music, and I've seen the physical reaction in Tyreek sometimes when he hears music which is out of tune, and it's almost like, to him it's almost like physical pain, which is really strange. But like I've gotten the sense that they simply cannot listen to the music because it's so off from what it should be. It's something that I feel like there really isn't a like an analog for people who don't have absolute pitch or perfect pitch. It'd just be like listening to really like a piano that was like horrendously out of tune, except it's 432, but like technically everything's in tune. I don't know. I don't know. I honestly don't know. So, favorite resource to learn harmony in a jazz context? Good question. The Jazz Piano Book, Mark Levine, is good. Any Rick Beato, and just watch Rick Beato's channel. Honestly, he has the technical stuff. He has the technical goodness that my channel doesn't really have. Because I could do what Rick is doing for a lot of things. Maybe 80% of what Rick does I could probably do if that was really what I wanted to like put my mind to, and like create some content in my style. But I feel like he does it a lot more fluidly than I could ever do it. And he has his thing, and I don't see any reason for me to like really encroach on his turf, if that even makes any sense. But he has the technical knowledge for music. Amy Nolte has some good stuff, even more practical for piano playing. But yeah, I would definitely check those guys out. Watched any movies lately? No, I really haven't. I saw Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It was alright. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was exactly what I saw, so exactly what I was expecting to see, if that makes any sense. Hey Adam, I'm a sax player and I have been since I was 9 playing gigs out. Plan to go to college to study music, but I'm not sure where the best place to just learn music and make connections as well. Berkeley's great, of course. Like if you're in the States, if you're in the United States, I can only really speak about, about United States music schools. Anywhere in New York would be fantastic. New York's awesome. That's where I live, because you have many more opportunities to meet people outside of your music school when you go to school in New York, and it's also just so many musicians are here. Yeah, Indiana University also has a really good program. It's really big. There's a few others. When you go to Berkeley, Berkeley is kind of like the only social circle you really have. Boston doesn't really have all that much else in terms of music social circles, except for maybe New England Conservatory. But yeah. Anyway, I'm thinking about majoring in jazz composition at Berkeley next year as a guitarist. What should I do to prepare before I get there? Thanks. Man, I don't even know what the jazz comp curriculum is there at Berkeley anymore. When back in my day, when Ken Pulig was running the department, yeah, it was a long time ago. Say hi to Scott Free for me, if Scott Free is still teaching there. Winnie Dahlgren, she might be still teaching there. I'm not really quite sure who's still teaching there. What should I do to prepare? Learn as much as you can about drop 2 voicings. Check out Jim McNeely. Jim McNeely is my former mentor and just the greatest living jazz composer, I think. In terms of like big band arranging and composing in a classic style. Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult to really say in terms of preparation for that jazz comp curriculum, because you don't really know what you're doing until you get there, and the jazz comp curriculum will give you so much information. Just learn as much theory as you can, come ready to throw down, because there's some, at least hopefully there still is some pretty nuts stuff there, and get ready to learn, man. But good luck, definitely. Marry me. Okay. Hey Adam, you said in a previous Q&A that you hated playing contemporary Christian music. Can you talk about that a little bit, because of the themes or just how simple it is? I was going to answer this in my last Q&A video, and I actually answered it fairly in depth, but then I lost the audio to it because my audio got corrupted, and I was like, I don't feel like re-recording this. So now I can talk about it now. Contemporary Christian music. The reason why I dislike it is not because it's Christian. I really need to tell everybody that, the reason why I dislike contemporary Christian music, and specifically they call it, I guess, praise music, is not because it's Christian. And I have a Christian background. I don't really talk about this a whole lot. I don't see any reason why I don't, but both sets of my grandparents were, I guess my father's parents were missionaries in Cameroon, West Africa, and my mother's parents were church musicians. So very steeped in church tradition. I'm not particularly religious right now or practicing right now, but I have culturally, I guess, very religious. So I know a lot about religious music in a variety of contexts. I know a lot about what it means to worship, at least in variety of contexts, both in America and in Africa, at least in the Presbyterian Church. And the reason I'm trying to articulate this, why I dislike praise music so much, it's so cheap. It feels like people are trying to have a religious experience with God or having some sort of spiritual experience without any of the work that is necessary to achieve some sort of transcendent artistic experience. It feels like somebody is I don't know, it's so watered down, the message is so generic, the whole thing just reeks of mediocrity. And mediocrity is fine. Pop music is so mediocre. I don't get offended by mediocre pop music. And a lot of this, honestly, is just my own bias because of my background, because I know how awesome religious music can be in very simple settings in terms of a bunch of people just getting around and singing a song with no particularly goal of feeling like they need to be one with, feeling one with God, but I don't know, it's there's this weird sense of achieving something higher through a simple unrelatable, mediocre song. And I've had some like weird experiences with that just really have left me really sour. And there's so many, I don't know. There's a lot that I can say, and I'm rambling right now and I'm tired, but it's just, it's left such a weird taste in my mouth from my own personal background that I don't ever want to be associated with any of it. And I don't begrudge anybody who plays and has a good time in it, for sure. I really don't, because honestly, from an objective standpoint, there's really no difference between it and like cheap disposable pop music, and I'm fine with cheap disposable pop music because it's non-pretentious and it's backwards. I don't know. It's like background garbage. It can be background garbage, and I don't really hate it that much. But I'm rambling right now. But anyway, that's my point on praise music. Now, when Douglas Adams says religious music is boring, I strongly disagree. Check out Mozart's Kyrie eleison, or check out any, check out any kind of like Southern Baptist like black gospel music, or like, I don't know, the whole gospel music thing is also kind of a little bit too over the top for my taste and can feel a little bit cheesy, but there's some fantastic musicians in that whole thing, and it's amazing. But yeah, anyway, my experience. It's my experience. Quick, don't think about cats. Too late. Hey Adam, have you ever met any Jehovah's Witnesses? Yes, I have. Occasionally. I haven't really had any conversations with Jehovah's Witnesses. Not to bring this conversation too religious, but yeah, that's my experience with it all. Okay. What's the new music scene like? I'm a college music composition professor, and that sounds very interesting. New music, I haven't really checked out a whole lot of. I mean, it's a huge thing. I mean, definitely a huge thing. The whole downtown scene, from the 60s and whatever, gave Philip Glass and Steve Reich and, all the minimalist composers came out of New York, and the downtown scene is still there, except everybody's kind of moved to Brooklyn. There's a lot of like, what's the best way of saying? There's a lot of like crossover, I guess, between new music, quote unquote, and then rock and indie and electronic music. People composing serious music, at least younger people, from what I've seen, and it's not really a scene that I'm like super engulfed in, but from what I've seen, there's a lot of people composing serious music, but for much more, like in a much more modern aesthetic. It's cool. It's really interesting, and the stuff that I've checked out is it's nice. It's cool. I don't think that it's happening too many other places, but it's my own experience with it. Oh, right. So many questions. Adam, what did you have for breakfast? Today I had a bunch of almonds. Roasted, unsalted almonds. They're still here. It's like that many left, and then I just ate the rest. It's all right. I like almonds. Very exciting. I'm performing in front of 576 people. 576 people heard me talk about almonds. Almonds. I do not like almonds, says Sarah Alert. Maybe it's Sarah Alert. Probably Sarah Alert. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? I grew up in Silver Spring, Maryland. And by Silver Spring, Maryland, I actually mean Wheaton, Maryland. And by Wheaton, Maryland, I actually mean Kensington, Maryland. And if there's anybody around there from that area, you'll know how confusing the districts around Silver Spring, Maryland are. So yeah, I'll just say Silver Spring, Maryland. Dave Chappelle is from Silver Spring, Maryland. Great place. It's a suburb outside of Washington, D.C. So I grew up outside of D.C. and I was playing a lot of music in and around suburban Maryland and D.C. and Northern Virginia. And that was where I grew up. It's fantastic. I liked where I grew up because it was very close to the city. And Washington, D.C. is a really interesting city because it's really two cities. There's the House of Cards, Washington, D.C. Nobody gave a shit about any of that bullshit when we were growing up. That was stupid. There's like the federal part of D.C. And then there's the actual D.C., which is much more interesting. And there's a lot more culture. Yeah, it's also about 80% black, and there's a big like I guess tension between the two DCs in a real way in terms of the House of Cards bullshit, the federal government, and then the actual citizens of DC. And if, this is my only political statement that I'm going to make, and I'm very much for this, but I'm very much for DC statehood. That's like one of the DC statehood and also Puerto Rican statehood. Those are the two like political issues that I will openly talk about on this channel. And if you have any arguments against it, fuck you. I will argue very much against you for those two issues. Any other issues? Nah, I don't want to talk about here. But those two, I am for. For some reason, I unleashed a shitstorm for saying those two things. I didn't think they would be that controversial, but like the people, I feel like for the most part, maybe Puerto Rican statehood can be like a little bit of an issue, like back and forth. But like for the most part, DC statehood, there really aren't that many people who give compelling arguments against DC statehood. It's just that it's never going to happen because of the political climate, because it's a black Democratic city, and nobody is going to add 2 senators for a black Democratic city. I mean, I don't care, like, add Republicans. I don't care, like, add 2 senators somewhere else. It's more about just the fact that DC does not have any sort of real representation in government, and the people in DC have very few legal rights in terms of their ability to govern. So I'm very much for DC statehood. All right, I am done talking politics. California should be its own issue. Yeah, and there's the whole thing about like the Northern California being like a Republican state, like away from like, yeah, that's fine. Make another Republican state. That's fine. Do it. Don't care. Daddy, barbershop music or drum corps, please. I know so little about either, but I'm gonna say barbershop music. A lot of Puerto Ricans. Hey. Wepa. Drummers playing behind bass solos. Don't play too busy, but don't just like play random hi-hat bullshit. Any tips for a fish player transitioning to electric bass? Oh, and any tips for a bass fish player transitioning to electric bass? Well, your knowledge of scales will come in handy. All right, sorry. It's late, guys. Come on. Don't you get bored learning things? I really don't. I really don't. I don't think I ever will. That's the nice thing, and that's lifelong. My interests have like grown and waned, but I never really get tired of that. So, hey Adam, do you have any advice for playing in theater pit bands? Learn how to read music really well. Learn how to read music really well. Let's learn how to read music really well. That's the big thing for playing in theater pits. Vsauce collab, man, that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. I would not mind starting Vsauce 4 and make it just about music. That would be really tight, but I don't think that will happen. Have you ever considered leaving New York? Anywhere else you would like to live? Yeah, more and more I have been considering. It's like now more of a possibility because, for the longest time, my career and everything was based here. And if I moved somewhere else, I would basically start from nothing. But now because I have you guys to talk at, I can at least talk at people from wherever I am in the world, which is great. So I always will have that sort of thing no matter where I go. But in terms of the music scene, I really this is just the best. And I've been some places. I was in London a couple months ago. It was a cool music scene. I liked it. I was in Puerto Rico a couple years ago. That music scene was crazy. The salsa scene was like nuts, but it's not really what I do. For what I do, New York is pretty much the place where I want to be. Yeah, so I don't know. Nashville, not Nashville. Screw Nashville. Nashville's not that bad, but that's not where I would want to go. LA is a possibility at some point, maybe, because there's so much music industry out there. But beyond that, I don't know. I really don't know where I would go. How was the salsa scene nuts? I'm Puerto Rican. Yeah, my girlfriend and I went to was it the New Rican Cafe in San Juan, Viejo San Juan, and they had some ridiculous salsa bands playing like every night we went, and it was just like, yeah, so good, so good. Oh my god. Yeah, so that was my experience there on the music scene. I don't really know anything else about the scene down there, but some great salsa bands here in New York too, but it was nuts down there. Just nuts. Wait, you have a girlfriend? I did not know that. Yep. I'm watching from Puerto Rico, straight up. Adam, do you know any Brazilian jazz composers? I mean, besides, Brazilian jazz composers. I really don't, in terms of like straight jazz or American jazz. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that American jazz composers and musicians do that borrow heavily from Brazilian music. So I don't know any like straight like Brazilian jazz musicians or like people who are Brazilian that are just straight jazz musicians. I really don't, or jazz composers. I really don't. Maybe people can give me some like recommendations. That's the word. Adam, say this in Spanish. Todo bien, gente? Yo hablo español muy bien. Me llamo Adam. Soy músico. Toco el bajo. Really don't speak that much Spanish. I'm sorry. But that was my attempt. I sort of understood that. Adam, how is the Austin music scene compared to New York City? How much does it cost to live in New York? And what's your primary source to pay for it? I really don't know anything about Austin. I've heard that it's good. I've heard that it completely changes during South by Southwest. And I've heard there's a ton of people who move there, but there's not much opportunity to like make money because there's not much of a like industry there. How much does it cost to live in New York? So New York is, I can give you some numbers. I'm not going to tell you how much that I pay for rent, but I live in a place that there aren't that many musicians. It's a nice neighborhood. It's a great neighborhood, but it's very far away from everything else, and that's the reason why the rent where I am is so low. Relatively, it's relatively, and I need everybody to know that I pay relatively low rent. I will say this: $900 for a room, not even your apartment, it was just like a room in like a 4-bedroom apartment in like Bushwick, is fairly common. That's where most people do, is this like pay $900 to $1,000, maybe a little bit less. If you're lucky, and if you go live way far out, you can pay less than that. But that's usually what you're looking at to live in New York. That's not for your own apartment. Own apartment, forget it. You're not gonna do that for a while unless you're quite wealthy moving into it. If you're a musician. Hey, I appreciate your work, and since I gave you money, can you look at the camera and say, "Hey, Harry, you're one peachy fella." All right. Hey, Harry, you're one peachy fella. God, it's literally a whore. Somebody gives me money and tells me to say something, but... So, Louisiana music scene compared to New York, next. The shit in Louisiana, first of all, the only thing that I've ever heard of Louisiana is, of course, New Orleans. That is like some pretty intense, real music. The stuff that I've heard from New Orleans is all universally amazing. Just an amazing, amazing, vibrant music scene. Even after Katrina, like, knocked out a lot of the whole infrastructure of how the city existed. New Orleans still is a kind of a mecca for a very particular style of music, style of jazz, style of old time, style of Cajun music. Very, very fundamentally different and than New York City. New York City has a very particular style of jazz that is like old, or not older, much more modern. Sorry, just sort of losing the plot right now. Very tired, but I'm continuing to stream. Yeah, very different sort of style than New York. When did you realize that you were gay? Like, I'm reading these things and I'm like, thinking that I'll think of like some witty retort after I've read it. Didn't think of a witty retort. I really didn't. Really did not. Ugliest bass in your opinion? Any of the, like extreme metal deep BC Warlock guitars, or those what those are called? BC Rich, whatever. I don't know. Yeah, I think those are ugly, but that's kind of like low hanging fruit. Everybody expects that. So, thank you, Douglas Adams, for the super chat. Appreciate everybody who has donated very much. How big is your dick butt? Quite large. BBC Ricks. Hey Adam, do you listen to any Maynard Ferguson? Yes, a little bit. Most of the time, Maynard Ferguson is considered a little bit cheesy in jazz circles, but really, really good for the time. Very particular sort of jazz. Particular sort of jazz that I don't say, it's not really smooth jazz. It's like a predecessor to smooth jazz. Same thing with like George Benson, like kind of cheesy, great music, of course, but like you're kind of turned off because you know what that music is going to become later on. It's that kind of music is going to become smooth jazz, is going to become Kenny G, but the music itself is great. It's really, really nice stuff. But OC2, OC3, I prefer the OC2, but the OC3 is great. What video are you most proud of on your channel? Oh, that's something I do think about sometimes. I think most of the time it's whatever I like worked on most recently. I'm really proud of the 432 video that I did. It could be better, but the moment that I'm most proud of, I just think is like the funniest, and I've mentioned this before, is like when I'm comparing Knower and John Coltrane and the reactions to Knower's cover of a Nero song that people have just vehemently hating on it, and then I post those reactions on top of John Coltrane's My Favorite Things. That moment, for some reason, I just like find the funniest, and just like when I was editing, I'm like, oh my god, this is intense. So I like that. I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the musical fractals video, just how ridiculous that concept was, like that I came up with. I'm proud of. Yeah, I mean, I really like the stuff that I've been doing. I think the end effect, I think, I keep getting better at editing, keep better pacing, like keep slowly like improving the stuff. So I think, I don't know. Something I think about a lot, though. Thoughts on Jacob Collier? Have you met him? No, I have not met him, but I want to show you guys something. I want to show you guys something that I was going to post on Facebook, but then I didn't. Let me find it. It's probably my most favorite thing. So this is a screenshot. This is a screenshot right here, and I don't know if you can see this, but it says Jacob Collier sent you a friend request. So Jacob Collier friended me. Yay! And I was like, oh my god, I'm never washing this screen again. So hopefully, like, I get a chance to meet him. That'd be really cool. That'd be really fun to hang out and talk with him about a lot of temperament shit, like a lot of like tuning theory stuff, because I've been like really into that recently. So that would be really awesome. Adam, is it possible to be really fluent on two instruments at the same time? I'm learning piano and I got an electric bass because I love the sound. I love to play it, but I don't know if I can do both. I mean, I consider myself fairly fluent on three instruments: electric bass, piano, and guitar. And when I say fairly fluent, I mean depending on how much practice time I've been dedicating on each instrument, I could reasonably perform in a professional setting. Like every couple of weekends, there might be an instance where I need to play piano for a jazz cocktail hour. I can fake my way through it pretty decently. So I would consider myself decently, at least the ability to fake it. Not like what I was doing earlier, but like my ability to fake jazz piano. Let me fake jazz piano for you. This is my attempt to fake jazz piano. Yeah, that nonsense. That's enough to pretend that I know what I'm doing. Most of the time, that usually means playing fancy chords and shit. The ability to play more than one instrument at the same time is basically comes down to your ability to balance practice routines. And the reason why you might balance a practice routine towards one instrument versus the other is depending on what kind of gig you get. So the only reason why I can do that sort of thing is because I need to learn how to fake a jazz piano sort of thing. Adam, I know I've asked this a million times already, but as a music major heading to college in 4 weeks, how should I prepare? I'm multi-instrumentalist and vocalist. Guitar is my primary. Depends on what your goals are in college. Just keep an open mind, be ready to work your ass off, and work your ass off. I don't know. It's difficult to say for preparation because you don't. It depends on your program. It also depends on. It depends on your program a lot. Just be ready to work hard. Thoughts on bent knee? I might be a little biased, but I love bent knee because Ben is a friend of mine. I'm trying to hop on a bent knee tour this October. It might happen. I don't think it will, but I'm trying to hop on this tour with Sungazer. That'd be really fun to play a couple dates with bent knee. Get the stupid light thing. There we go. Light. Any thoughts on having to be social in order to gain connections in music? I mean, it's something that will. I'm trying to think of this learned extroversion. I'm an introvert. I never really want to hang out with people. I mean, I don't mind. I don't mind hanging out with people when I'm around people or whatever. It's not something I seek out. I really don't seek out to spend time with friends or spend time away from myself. I really like hanging out and pounding out random chords on the piano and whatever. That's my main source of, just mode of being. But I've learned how to be extroverted. I'm being extroverted right now. I'm talking and orating my thoughts to you, the camera, and to you, the people in front of me, you, the people of the chat in front of me, and talking. Now, of course, I'm, it's a little bit easier to do this sort of thing than, conduct conversations or start conversations with people because, I don't know, I just have learned how to do this a little bit more. But learned extroversion is something that's very real, and a lot of people have learned how to do it, and I consider that skill very important. It's something I've talked about sometimes. It's the ability to put on a character, the ability to think of yourself outside of yourself, to be to approach an interaction, at least when I have a lot of anxiety, approach an interaction as if it's not you talking. Think about just some general your characteristic, or imagine. I'm trying to talk right now. Imagine what you would think a really extroverted person would do, and try and do that. Try and put on that character. And it's going to feel ridiculous. It's going to feel wrong. It's going to feel like the worst thing in the world. But that's what I've done in the past. That's what I did when I was first starting out and trying to be that person and going up to a person. Hey man, sounded really, really good. Is that what bass are you playing right now? Oh, that's awesome. You sounded fantastic. I really like the bass fills that you were doing on that third song. Yeah, man, it's fucking great. Yeah, she really knows how to sing. Sounds really great, really great. That's awesome. Well, I'm Adam. Great to meet you. bullshit like that. Putting on that character happens so often for me. And yeah, that's just part of the game, man. You gotta do it. Wow, that act was kind of gay. Yep. Get fucking used to it. It's part of the hang, man. If you don't know how to do the hang, don't know how to put on that character. Yeah, and it's not about being fake in this too, because you also want it to be genuine, because like, hey, you don't want to say nice things and talk somebody up that you don't think is deserving of that. Fuck that. That happens all the time. That was my main beef with like the shit that I was seeing in LA. It's just like an augmented version of your, yeah. It just I don't even really know how to describe it. Different modes of talking to different people is something that, you know, has to happen. Adam, play bass solo with us. My bass is all the way over there. I don't want it's 2 a.m. Hey Adam, your work ethic is an inspiration. What is your favorite performance so far as a musician? In terms of my performance, my big band piece Exigence is probably the thing I hold dearest as a performance. My favorite performance, I don't know. Yeah, it's hard to pick a favorite because everything is like melds together at a certain point. Just like, oh, these are all these great things that I've done. It's only 2 a.m. I'm about to go to work. I'm unusually tired right now. Normally I'm up a little later than this, but I'm really tired. Adam, can you explain tonal pairing and the relative key paradox? I don't know what that is. I really don't. I'm going to check that out. Relative key paradox. That's interesting. Thoughts on Bill Wirtz? Bill Wirtz is a genius in every sense of the word. And he's a genius on so many levels. And apparently, I didn't realize this, he went to Berkeley at the same time I did, and we have mutual friends. In fact, the mutual friend that we have is Emily Prime, the person that I am working on her set for, where she is friends with Bill Wirtz in real life. So that is the connection between me and Bill Wirtz. Buffalo? What about Buffalo? Some people talking about Buffalo? What's up about Buffalo? I have a friend, VJ Brown, who great guitar player, but he's from Buffalo and he reps Buffalo at every instance he can. Adam, play a lullaby on the piano. Nah. Hey Adam, is it possible to make a living as a composer of multiple genres without playing an instrument? Yeah, probably. When you have a digital audio workstation, you can definitely do that. But in terms of like, yeah, you can definitely do that. I don't see what the advantage of that is. I think it would be easier to be a composer and play at least piano. How much is your apartment rent? Hey, June Lee. I don't want to say, but I will say this. It is more, this 1-bedroom apartment is definitely at least 3 times the cost of my base per month. How about that? Maybe, it's about 3 times. About 3 times the cost of my base per month. Yeah. I split it with my girlfriend though, but you can figure out what kind of bass I play, you can figure out the price of that, and then you can figure out how much my rent is. Adam, thoughts on Musician? I've been trying to like avoid this question because I know Musician has been throwing a lot of money out to YouTube influencers. I'm considered an influencer by advertisers to like advertise for them. So I mean, maybe I'll like reserve judgment on Musician, but you know, $1,500 a month? No way in New York City. Remember, I don't live where most people live in New York City. Just think about that. I live in a very different borough than many people do. Not Staten Island. Never would live in Staten Island. But I live in a place where there are not that many musicians. What university would you recommend to study music and composition? New England Conservatory has a fucking amazing program. Manhattan School of Music has a great one too. I mean, I don't know about straight composition. I call it straight composition. I mean, classical composition, art music composition. There definitely is like a sharp dividing line for some reason. And yes, it is the Bronx. My commute does suck. But I also don't commute down that often. So, and the cheap rent and high quality of life up here is more than worth it. Ever met a synesthete? Yes, I am a synesthete. I know what synesthetes are. I also have met like a real synesthete, a synesthete who has chromesthesia versus grapheme, was it? I have grapheme-based synesthesia, which basically means that I don't actually experience what are called photisms. A photism is when you actually see light when you hear music. I just have color associations with musical concepts. It's a weird thing that it's difficult to really explain, because I also have it with days of the week, months of the year. I have it with letters. I have it with a bunch of random ass things. I have strong color associations with all of those. But I also know real synesthetes that actually have the photisms, and that's nuts. I don't even understand what that is. Cool. A lot of questions. Sorry. Hey Adam, do you have any experience with busking? Yes, I do. First 2 years I was here, maybe 3 years, 2 years, I busked with a guitar player and a cajon player, and we played country music. So weird. A cajon player and a guitar player, and I was on upright bass, and we were playing like Johnny Cash and like some Beatles covers too, weirdly. It was strange. It was really strange, but it kind of worked. The cajon was kind of almost like a snare, like, kind of like a lot of those older like country things like snare and brushes. It actually worked sonically, but it was just a strange like concept that it worked. I thought it worked. We made some money. Made it, an average about 20 or 30 an hour, depending on the place. We'd only play for a couple hours, but it was enough to pay. It was like better paying than some of the jazz gigs that we were getting. So I was like, hey, might as well just busk for a little bit. Adam, your video on 432 Hertz had a few jabs at the New Agers. I'm curious if you have any personal spirituality, anything that you hold sacred and divine. Yes, music I hold sacred and divine in a lot of ways. I take jabs at the New Agers because their philosophies are lazy. They don't engage in the subjects in any sort of real and meaningful way. You don't, when you say shit like sacred geometry and like all the shit that they were doing, people like will nod and say like, oh yeah, that's amazing, the numerology and blah 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 blah, without actually going deep into it. And I think going deep into something is where the real meat lies. Like having somebody say something at you does not mean that you are going to have any sort of experience with that. The way I always like to think is like, I'm not really practicing. I don't have any sort of practicing religion. I really don't. But everybody, like, there's this famous quote like, not all composers believe in God, but all composers believe in J.S. Bach. And because J.S. Bach believed so hard in God, that all composers believe in God. It's something along those lines. And I really truly believe that. I really do. You can't listen to Bach's music if you truly understand Bach's music and like understand how counterpoint works in Bach's music and what he was trying to do with the music, and how just that is really true. Like, I think it would be closer to sacred geometry and whatever, just the way that he organized the music, but in ways that would just like transcend, I don't know. Yeah, that's my religious belief. So in a nutshell, I can rant later when I've had a few drinks in me, but for right now, I'm going to just say my religious belief is in J.S. Bach. Can you talk about your evolution as an improviser? Sure. Well, in the beginning, I sucked, and then I got a little bit better, and now I'm not as sucky. I'm kind of sucky, but not as sucky. Yeah, in the beginning when you're improvising, it's really not the... it's not... Improvising is a strange thing because... well, it's not that strange. I mean, like anything, it's a language, so in the beginning you're not going to be very good at it, but over time you'll get better and better as you do it more and more, especially if you're doing it with people who are much better than you. When you go into a foreign land, you get a lot better at a language really fast because you're thrust into a different sort of environment. So that's how I think about my evolution as an improviser. I was thrust into that environment several times, just with older musicians that somehow, and I'm very thankful for this fact, like I was in a bunch of situations in DC, Washington, DC, which is a great jazz scene. It's not really my kind of jazz. It's a little bit too conservative for my taste, very hard bop sort of scene. And you find that honestly, you find that in situations like in DC, which has a very big black population, you find a much more conservative approach to the music because it feels tradition is much more important, and keeping a tradition, like strong African-American musical tradition alive is very important. So you have a much more conservative jazz scene, but very vibrant jazz scene too. So I was able to be in that sort of situation many, many times, and I'm very thankful for the fact that I wasn't kicked off the bandstand. I wasn't officially kicked off the bandstand ever. Yay. Congratulations me. I was in an environment of people who could play jazz way better than I could. And just being in that environment was very, very important for me as a musician. And I think that was the main reason why I was able to progress as quickly as I did early on. Not that I am that great, but, I'm thankful for that. What did you think of Samurai Guitarist 432 Hertz video? Oh, man. So I'm Samurai Guitarist. I don't know his name, but I'm Samurai's one of his patrons. I like being patrons of a bunch of other people, just, because if people are giving me money, I want to make sure that other people are also getting money. So I was like finishing editing my video, and I was like going through all the things, like just watching it, just making sure that the timing was right and blah, blah, blah. And I get the notification, and then I see that he was like about ready to post his video. I was like, oh, fuck. All right, well, I'm going to watch it. And he like made like the same exact points. And I was like, this is great, but like, fuck. Like, we couldn't have like spaced it out. We could have like said like, all right, you're going to make these points and you're going to make these points, and like it's going to be a different sort of thing. Like, he did the same like comparison between the two, and like the same thing with the cesium atoms, and like I was like, god damn it. But it was fun. I really like the musical and examples that he uses, and he has a very particular style of presenting that I really enjoy, and I've taken a little bit of stuff from, but it's a very measured and calm approach to presenting, which I like. And he's also not afraid to have opinions, and I like when people have opinions, because you're taking a stand. And when people don't have opinions and sort of like skirt around the issue, you're not really like sticking your neck out in any sort of real way. So I like when people stick their neck out for things that they believe in. And anyway. He doesn't do the spicy memes. I feel like I try not to do too many memes, because memes can get super cringy, especially when, I'm not the youngest guy. I'm 28. I feel like the kids these days with their memes, I feel like if I chase too many memes too often, like, it'll just be, the shelf life isn't like, the shelf life of a good meme. I want to make sure that it's a tried and true meme. It still has some life on it before I like try and incorporate it. All Stars is so dead, but I like using it because it's actually beyond the meminess of All Star. It's actually a great tool for presenting musical concepts. Like, for example, 432 versus 440. I needed something to play to show the difference between 440 and 432, so might as well be All Star. It's a great like just placeholder. I could have played Happy Birthday, but that's the dinkness of Happy Birthday is not really on the radar. All Star still has a little bit in it. It's pretty much dead, but I'm keeping the germ alive. The lick's pretty much dead. But the thing with the lick is that outside of the jazz theory circles, nobody knows what the lick is, so I can keep that meme alive for some time. Do you think it's smart to get a music degree that isn't from a dedicated school like Berkeley? Yeah, it can be great actually. There's so many great music programs that aren't from conservatories. Indiana University, I think I mentioned that a couple times. Berkeley's great just because of all the people that you meet, but in terms of the music, there are tons of great programs out there. Do you ever actually listen to All Star? No, I don't. I really don't. In fact, I had to learn All Star for a wedding once. It was a request, and I thought that was the most hilarious thing. And that was the first time I've actually learned how to play it from beginning to end. Because most of the time the meme was only the first verse to the first chorus. And I had to learn the whole thing. It's like, holy shit, there's a lot of extra stuff in the song that I'd never listened to before. And, there's like a fourth verse. It's crazy. Have you ever been mugged or robbed? I have not. It's because the reason I think I haven't gotten fucked with all that often is I look vaguely Eastern European, maybe from afar, vaguely. And there's this thing, Eastern Europeans are basically the only white people that don't get fucked with that often in New York in general. But that's the only reason why I feel like I haven't gotten fucked with at some point. But I'm not Eastern European. I'm Irish. Scots-Irish as fuck. Very Scots-Irish. Do you watch meme reviews? I do. I do watch Anthony Fantano and his meme review. It's entertaining. I get some of my internet culture from there. Who are some of your favorite non-music related YouTubers? I mentioned this before, but Mike from Idea Channel is probably, a big inspiration. I mean, Vsauce is kind of like obvious. Nerdwriter, dude who does Nerdwriter is good. I like his stuff. ContraPoints, I may have played my hand a little bit by showing some of my political leanings. Oh well. Very entertaining, leftist YouTuber. Really well done, high production value stuff. I try not to watch any of the political shit though, because it gets so stupid so quickly. What are some other? I don't know. There's a lot of YouTubers I dig. CGP Grey is great. CGP Grey is awesome, OG stuff. Tom Scott's great. Smarter Every Day, the guy from Smarter Every Day is awesome. Really dig his stuff. He's great. How does it feel to be a cook? Adam, you need to sleep at some point. Number File is awesome. I really dig Number File. It's really interesting stuff because it flies over my head, which is awesome. And I like stuff that flies over my head because it kind of reminds me of what I feel like a lot of people who are first getting into music will feel when they watch some of my videos. But hopefully, I get really excited when I watch somebody like Number File because oh, this is awesome. These people are really excited about all this math shit. I want to learn some math. I never really learned all that much math, but at the same time, I'm I get it. I really truly get it. And the fact that the passion shows and people aren't dumbing down what they're talking about, but still trying to communicate it clearly. That's kind of something that I really like to try and strive for when I'm doing my music videos, because I don't want to dumb any of the shit that I'm talking about down. I really don't, because I feel like one of the reasons why I've been successful and found an audience is people like listening to interesting, complicated shit, because it sounds interesting and you might not truly get all of it, but at least, hey, I know what's possible. And I think that's the inspiring thing here, is watching somebody like Number File. I know what's possible in math. They're explaining he's explaining shit that I really can't wrap my brain around. I really can't. But it's fascinating and makes me want to learn a little bit more about what mathematicians are trying to grapple with and how they think, which is very similar, actually, to be honest, to to how I might think about certain things. It's very different in other ways, but similar and similar in a lot of ways. So anyway. Have you ever done a bachata gig? I have not, but I hear bachata all the time walking down the street in the Bronx. What about Every Frame of Painting? It's great. I have checked out Every Frame of Painting. Really dig learning about all that film theory. There's a lot of good film theory stuff about all around. Check out Hello Internet. I will. That sounds good. Do you feel that there is a largest prime number? I don't know. What do you think about 19-tone equal temperament? It has all the intervals of 12-tone, but with better approximations to just intonation. That's not really quite true. Its fifth is like really off to me. 19-tone. I've gone so deep into some of this like microtonal shit, and I haven't really ever like been able to wrap my head around all of it in a real like meaningful way that I would be able to like make a video about it. But 19-tone equal temperament is interesting. For people who don't know about 19-tone equal temperament, it's like, you know how there's half steps in between whole steps? 19-tone equal temperament is you have third steps. So there really doesn't exist a semitone. There's two semitones in between every whole step. And it's like, it's strange, man. It's cool. But the big thing that I've noticed, I've experimented a little bit with it. The fifth is out of tune, which like really bugs me. It's like it's okay, but I like how the 12-tone equal tempered fifth is a lot more in tune. Everything is like kind of approximates 12-tone, but sort of is out of tune. It's like not quite like microtonal enough to feel microtonal. To me, it just kind of feels like a sort of a pale imitation of 12-tone equal temperament for me. And I haven't really gone too deep into it, but it doesn't have that much interest in me. 22-tone equal temperament, that's a weird one. I might want to check that one out. Hey man, can you recommend some artists more people should check out in your opinion? Keep up the great work. All right. I recommend people check out Knower, of course. If you haven't checked out Knower, you should check out Knower. Chan, yeah, I guess Chan. Everybody in the chat has been saying, you should check out Chan. Chan is awesome. Jonathan Stein is a friend of mine. He makes really cool, interesting electronic, I guess, trap music, I guess. But like, he's a classically trained double bassist and plays a 7-string electric bass, and he's great. Recommend Jonathan Stein all the time. Moonhooch, and also Too Many Zoos. If you are at all interested in what they call like brass house, is like electronic music played by horn sections, check them out. Interesting music that I've been checking out recently, Hiatus Coyote, of course. Definitely check out Hiatus Coyote. Yeah, I'll be thinking some stuff. What are your thoughts on minimalism? I think minimalism is great. It can obviously get boring after a while, which is why post-minimalism is really interesting. By the way, Jonathan Stein. Just think like Ben Stein, like the, comedian / conservative commentator, but just Jonathan Stein. Yeah. Any music you've completely grown out of and are completely embarrassed about? I mean, I have a special place in my heart for every kind of music that I've ever listened to, because it represented an important time in my life where that was an important piece of my musical upbringing. So I can say, Linkin Park, maybe I was embarrassed to have listened to in the period immediately after listening to Linkin Park, but at the same time, like, that was a very important part of my life and very important. My musical upbringing was expressed through the music of Linkin Park. Same thing with the music of Dream Theater. I find Dream Theater now incredibly cheesy, but I'm not embarrassed to have liked Dream Theater when I did. And, yeah, I don't think I could ever say that I've ever been embarrassed to like something. So many people, Alex Lifeson or Steve Hackett. Rush, right? Maybe. I don't know. I think Alex Lifeson, maybe. Sorry, guys. Do you think that progressive rock is okay? I think progressive rock is cool. I mean, for a while, I really, really dug Animals as Leaders, and I still do. But it's. In fact, I do like the side project that the two guitarists from Animals as Leaders did with the sax player from the Mars Volta, I forget his name, and also Eric Moore of Suicidal Tendencies, I think. It's a project called Tram. I like that project more than any Animals as Leaders songs because it was kind of raw, the recording just felt like unfinished in a really awesome way. I really liked Tram. It was like most progressive rock to my ear is like very polished, hyper polished to the point where it's like all the interesting liveness kind of gets sucked out of it. Definitely that's the case for like Animals as Leaders. But Tram, it was like all the raw, unpolished shit was there, and it was great. It was awesome. Is atonal music garbage or cool? If you most of what people think is atonal is just slightly dissonant. Very little music is truly atonal. So anybody who talks about atonal music the way like they do like that, they don't actually have they've never really grappled with what they would consider atonal music, with what I would consider atonal music. So dissonant music is cool. How about that? Do you like Steven Wilson? A Porcupine Tree guy, right? Is that the guy? I really don't know a whole lot about him, but dig him. Yeah, dig his stuff. I liked Porcupine Tree for a while. It was cool, and I know he's done a lot of other stuff. I don't really know a whole lot else. I might be completely wrong on that, but... Have you ever heard of this cool YouTuber called Adam Neely? I haven't, but I have heard of the husband of Reza Farahan. His name is Adam Neely. He worked on Glee, I think. And he's a member of a reality TV show called The Shahs of Sunset. There's Adam Neely is the husband of Reza Farahan. For the longest time, when you Googled my name, his name would come up. How difficult is it to enter the music scene in New York? Not difficult to enter it in the sense that there's music all over the place. There's no shortage of musicians to play with. In terms of like, tired, but I just must keep streaming. In terms of having people to play with, yeah, you'll never that won't be a problem. But in terms of like gaining notoriety on the scene, it's just a matter of attrition. How long can you like stay in the city and still be playing with people? It takes a while to like actually develop a network. So, the cat does not give a shit. The cat is definitely sleeping. It's time to annoy the cat. Let's annoy the cat. Okay. While I answer questions. I plan on moving to LA in the next few years to pursue voice acting and music producing. No family in LA, no friends, no financial support. Any advice to moving a new city to pursue your dreams alone? You're a braver person than I am. I would never do that. I always like to talk about the importance of the network. Networks is very important. The cat's name is Echo. Now I'm going to be annoying the cat live in front of 500 people. What? You don't like it? You don't like it? You don't like it? You don't like it? Yeah, cats basically all they do every day is just sleep. So that's what the cat's doing. Echo, I'm sorry. Still doesn't care. I begged him to stop. Let's see. He actually seems to like it. Yeah, the cat's weird. He actually likes the tummy rub a little bit. A little bit. Yeah. What program are you using on the computer? Like right now, I'm using Ableton Live. Ableton Live is basically what I do most of my music production, music editing, live music performance stuff. Yeah, I do everything through Ableton Live. Are you offended by dank memes? I do prefer my memes spicy versus dank. Dank is great. I do like dank. R/dank memes has some pretty dank memes, but I'm more of a spicy man. It's a spectrum of dankness to spiciness, and normie being in the center. You don't ever want to get that normie shit. From Offbeat Triplets in La Sandunguita. If the God, I can't talk right now, especially in Spanish. If the triplet notes are each equivalent to 2/3 of a chord note, then don't the two measures have an extra missing 1/2 of a chord note, respectively? That is not quite true. The whole point with doing the chord note triplet over the bar line is that it starts on the end of 4, and that it technically ends, or like the next beat after that would be on the end of 2. So 2 whole beats have gone by between the end of 4 and then the end of 2. And in those 2 beats, the chord note triplets occurs. So no, the measures do add up. It's because 3 chord note triplets take the span of 2 beats, and in between the end of 4 and the end of 2, there are 2 beats. It's a very confusing rhythm. But that is what happens. And it's La Sandunguita. Yeah, okay. Hey, Adam, how do you go about finding gigs in the DMV? I'm from Maryland, too, but I don't have many connections here. Yeah, well, a lot of the jazz clubs that I was playing at when I was in DC have actually closed. Twins Jazz is there's a big scene there. Yes. Girlfriend's there. The Electric Maid still might exist in Tacoma Park. It's a communist venue. Because there was a bunch of communists running this venue, it always kept closing because they never thought that they needed to pay their bills. But for some reason, it keeps reopening. Yeah, well, it's a great venue, though. Fantastic. Saw Michael Manring play there. I played there a couple times. It's just a room. It's actually a shitty venue, but it's great for a high school student because it all ages venue. Why do you find Dream Theater cheesy? I mean, I don't know. Why is anything cheesy? It's personal taste is it's just keeps coming back. Personal taste is a fickle thing. I don't know. I just find some of it a little cheesy. What do you think about Chuck Mangione and Arturo Sandoval? I was talking about that earlier. Chuck Mangione, I dig, but it's, again, cheesy. A little bit cheesy. Not bad, but you kind of hear in Chuck Mangione's music a lot of the same sorts of things that you hear in George Benson's music that would eventually become smooth jazz. It isn't smooth jazz, but it would eventually become. What do you think of Mike Kurz from Royal Blood, bass and bass as lead in general? I haven't heard a whole lot from Royal Blood. Of course, I get asked that a lot because Royal Blood, I think, just a duo, right? Lead bass and bass, if you have the right sort of tone, the right sort of distortion sort of setup and all that sort of thing, there's no reason why bass can't be the main rhythm instrument of any sort of ensemble. It's a really full sound, especially if you have any sort of setup where you have both a bass amp and then also another amp for distortion and overdrive. That's a big sort of thing. I would love to have that sort of setup. It's a pain in the ass to set all that shit up, but there's no reason why you can't do that. It just requires a lot of extra gear. It requires a shit ton of gear to get that sort of thing. Otherwise, bass will feel and sound a little bit too thin or a little bit too muddy if you just have one amp or the other. What do you think about the musical masterpiece It's Everyday Bro by Jake Paul? I mean, Jake Paul is, garbage, but it's entertaining. It's like any other garbage celebrity. I guess, people got bored of hating on Justin Bieber, so now everybody's going to hate on Jake Paul. Yeah, Justin Bieber had an album that was actually pretty well produced and actually had pretty good songs, and everybody's I guess we can't hate on him as much as we used to. I mean, we're still going to, but so thank God Jake Paul came along so everybody could hate on him. Did you know that Herbie Hancock is in Valerian? Oh, I didn't. Maybe I need to see that movie then. That's awesome. All right. A couple more minutes and then I'm calling it. How old is your ass? Same old as the rest of my body. I'm 28 years old. 28. How/what should I practice in order to be a gigging musician? Learning songs. I've said this earlier in the chat. I'll say this again. Learning songs and learning repertoire is very important. And just doing it as much as you can. Going out there and just playing with as many people as you can is very important. There's nothing quite like learning trial by fire, learning by doing. I strongly recommend that for everybody who wants to be a gigging, performing musicians. Musician singular. Woo! Late. Can you record your Maple Leaf Rag cover again? Definitely not. I don't own a 7-string bass anymore. I have no desire to own one again. And I have none of the chops that I had when I was 17 years old. I recorded that when I was 17 years old. And that's all I did. I learned how to play tapping. And I thought that was going to be my goal, in life, is to be a tapping bass player. And I learned some crazy, ridiculous shit. I learned that Maple Leaf Rag. I learned a bunch of other shit. Tapping. And I just eventually started hating the sound of it because it doesn't sound very good. It's impressive as hell, but it doesn't sound good at all. So I don't really stop doing it. So, Adam, what of the idea that the importance of networking in musical success or the success of other fields allows those who are better at networking to beat lesser networkers but better players? You have to understand this, guys. Music, when you're doing this professionally, is a business. It just is. You can't be thinking oh, I'm a great player. I'm amazing. Why isn't anything coming to me? You're not owed anything. You have to go out and get what you want. You're not owed anything in this, and just because you're a great player does not mean shit, because honestly there's so many great players and you're not probably as good as a player as you might think you are. And networking is important. Being able to promote yourself is very important. It has always been very important. You have to think of yourself as a person who can promote yourself. Now, if you are completely untalented and have no ability to play whatsoever but are really good at networking and talking yourself up, that will get you places, but only so far. There is always a ceiling to that. If you're a really good player and you also know how to network and promote yourself, there is no ceiling to that. You can always go higher and higher and higher, and as your career progresses and you grow older and you learn more and you meet more people, your career trajectory will keep going up and up, provided you are a good person and a good hang and don't aren't a shitty human being, person, whatever. But if you can't play, there is always a plateau. You will always run into that plateau. I've seen that a bunch of times, and I never did get bitter when I saw people who could talk themselves up more, but were shit human beings and couldn't play or whatever, because they aren't playing music anymore. They really, in my circle, they stopped because they couldn't hang anymore and they just could not play to the same degree. All my friends, fantastic musicians, amazing musicians. I think they're really great people and also really good at networking. They're constantly busy, and that's the reasons, because all three kind of raise to the top. So, yeah, that's what I am thinking. God damn. So tired. Davey504, a lot of people ask him. Why do you find him very impressive? I mean, I think of Davey504 the same way that I think of Jared Dines and Rob Scallon. Although Rob Scallon also has some other shit on his channel. Really good at making entertaining musical content. Music meme content. Really good at that. And, I've beyond just playing memes, I don't really know what Davey504 does, honestly, on bass besides just play memes, which is entertaining. It's great, but you know, he doesn't like release lessons. He doesn't release like original music. He doesn't release like any of that stuff. It's pretty much just memes, and it's fine. He's found his niche like that. But it's not somebody I would not want to do what he does. I really wouldn't, because at least my brand, whatever it is that I do, I can do whatever the hell I want, and it doesn't have to be meme based. As long as I'm just like talking about music and sharing something that I find interesting in music, I can make a video of. I made a fucking video about a cat piano. This motherfucker in the background, that thing was the star of my video just because I felt like it. I made a video, you know, like about Hocket. I made Q&A videos. I make gig vlogs. I do all sorts of shit. Davey 504 and like what people like, and also Jared Dines and some other people, they are kind of like, I wouldn't want to do what they're doing, basically. I'll just say that, because I would feel so constrained, and feel like I wouldn't be able to do cool, like just shit that I found interesting. So anyway, advice practicing as a multi-instrumentalist. Try, when you're being a multi-instrumentalist, try and balance your time as much as you can between the two or three instruments. Try and balance your time as much as you can, and it's the best way of saying this. Find gigs for the instrument that you're playing, and divide your time, because there's nothing like the pressure of a gig. So if you get like a gig on piano or whatever, you're gonna really have to shit on piano, but then make sure that you also have a gig on bass coming up too, so you really have to like be doing both. There's no reason why I should read this, but I'm going to read this anyway. Can I fuck your butt at about 1:15 tomorrow? No, Harry Manback. No, you may not. I'm sorry. Subscribe or you'll die in the next 7 days? 7 days. What about Music is Win? Did you ever meet him at Berkeley? Music is Win, Tyler. I think I might be in an upcoming video with him. I recorded some like, it's terrible. I hated what I played, but I sent it to him anyway. Like some like bass shred thing. I sent it to him. I don't know what he's going to do with it. But yeah, I've been meaning to like collaborate with Tyler for a while. He's a really great guitarist. He's a guy that I feel like can do whatever the hell he wants. He just does all these skits, but then also has like, I don't know, he has like very comedy based, but like you can tell that he can just do a whole bunch of stuff, whatever he wants to do, and I like that. I like that ability. I like the ability to just go where your mind takes you, and he's really good at what he does too. What do you think about Michael New? Michael New's amazing. Michael New has a very, very compelling and easy to understand, easy to follow way of understanding theory and music, but also he's able to bring people in. He's able to really like engage people who don't know anything about music in a way that I feel like, I mean, maybe I can a little bit, just because I throw a bunch of facts at you in certain ways, and I don't know, I have a personality on YouTube and personality editing style, but he definitely does too. But he has a much more like warm, nurturing, I don't know, like he feels like a teacher. He feels like your private instructor, and he does it in a very clear, warm, and inviting way. And I really like his stuff. He doesn't post that often, but when he does, the stuff that he does is just really good quality. I like Michael New a lot. Talk about your favorite YouTubers. I've been talking about my favorite YouTubers for a while. There's a lot of favorite YouTubers I have. Thoughts on Evan Brewer? I don't know Evan Brewer. Who does he play for? What does he do? Do you like Scott Devine? I do like Scott Devine a lot. I have a course. I don't know when it's going to get released. It might be released next year for all I know, but I recorded a course with him in February. It's a really intense period in my life for a lot of reasons, because I had to write a course in about like 5 days. It was really intense, but we did it. Sungazer performed. Sungazer was part of the course. It's great. Should be coming up at some point. I don't know. Thoughts on Rick Beato's son? just, the savant style ear without being a savant. Rick was talking to me a little bit about his kid Dylan and his other kids, but he was saying, like, the kid just apparently doesn't really care too much about music. I mean, he likes music, but he basically just wants to hang out and go to soccer practice and play Pokemon, which is, very different than what you might think of. Everybody says, like, oh, you just cage the kid for a while and, like, made him, like, learn music theory and whatever, but apparently he just has that he's one of those savants that just knows so much about something that you can't even begin to understand what goes on in his head. Oh shit! I really want to do, like, a 5-hour video where it's just me answering questions. Maybe I'll do that next week. I don't know. But starting at, like, 12:30 in the evening is not really a good idea. Normally what happens with these things is, like, I'll get done with all the work that I want to get done with, but I still have, like, a lot of energy, so I'm like, I'm going to do a live stream. And then I'm up until, like, fucking 3 or whatever. Adam, do like chord scale theory memes? This is important. I mean, it's fine. Chord scale theory memes, I honestly, with some of the meme stuff, like, it just feels like, with some of the meme stuff, because there's so many different flavors of meme, but, like, the chord scale theory memes, this, like, the beef with Wolfpack, it just feels like, congratulations, you triggered a bunch of people, that's great. Let's hear you play some music, guy. Oh wait, all you're famous for, all you can do is make chord scale theory memes, because when you make a meme and you make a snarky thing, you're not actually standing up for anything. You're not actually standing up for what it is that you do. You're just, like, tearing somebody down with a meme. It's funny. It's great. Tearing down Wolfpack fans and triggering Wolfpack fans is really funny. But, like, when you aren't doing shit yourself, it's like, what do you have to stand by? That's what I get a lot from a lot of people when they embrace the snarky cynicism. And I'm snarky and cynical. Maybe, no, I'm sorry. I'm not cynical. I'm snarky and skeptical. But I also, like, can stand by my words. I stand by what I say. I make sure that whatever I call people out and say shit about people, I'm going to stand by it. And people can, like, judge me by what it is that I do, what it is that I say, and the character, and blah, blah, blah. I stand for this. But when you make, like, say things like, do, like, certain like memes and stuff that, like, just make fun of people or, like, trigger people, and then you can't, like, I don't know. I'm just rambling right now. I'm getting kind of delirious. Yeah. Be ready to stand for something. Be ready to stand for something, seriously. Like, somebody who gets up in front of a camera, like fucking Anthony Fantano. He stands for every fucking thing that he says out there on the internet. He's making an opinion. He's standing by it. People get upset and they get butthurt in the comments, and there's a million fucking memes about Anthony Fantano, but he's contributing, he's saying something and standing by it, and he's advancing his artistry as a music critic and as a commentator, and just trying to make authentic, like, expressions of it is. And, like, when he gets in, I don't know, like, when people say things on the internet, even if you are spouting dumb bullshit, I can respect somebody who actually gets up in front of a mic and says some dumb bullshit more than the person who just says some dumb shit anonymously. I don't have to respect your opinion at all. Your opinion might be bullshit. Everything that you say might just be the worst. But at least you're standing by it, and you're getting in front of people ready to be judged on the forum. The great internet forum, the great devourer of information. So that's what I'm doing right now. Everybody's judging me. You got fucking 500,000 people listening to me rant about Anthony Fantano and shit. But, that's what it is, man. That's what it is. That is what it is. Is sampling a technique or an instrument? Ooh, great question. I think it's that's a hard one. It's kind of both. I mean, it's a technique. It's really a technique. But what you can do with it is pretty awesome. Normally when I think instrument, you can play fluidly just. I think it's not as fluid of an instrument, but it is definitely a powerful, powerful creative tool. So, you know. Mr. Neely, these are some very simple questions. What are some of your favorite jazz albums? What do you think of USC? Do you like Death Grips? Kind of Blue. Nah, it's whatever. Interstellar Space, weirdly. I'm behind that, Interstellar Space. Bill Evans, You Must Believe in Spring. Just name me some random ass shit that, I don't know. Chicory, Light as a Feather. These are just shit that I like. Yeah, kind of blue. It's great. Charles Mingus's The Black Saint and the Sinner Lady. It's awesome. All right, this is some of them. What do you think of USC? Like the college, the school? I think it's good. Great music program. Do you like Death Grips? Yes. Is it true that you're one of the top 17 bassists in the world? I'm not known for my bass playing, guys. I'm known for my ability to talk at you. Not my bass playing. My bass playing's alright. It's good. Not top 17. Not by a long shot. I am done. I'm done. I am exhausted. So I thank you, everybody, for watching. I'm going to be doing this more often. I've been doing it like once every other week. These like live stream Q&As. I think I might try at some point the 5-hour Q&A. But I'm so glad that we're here. Holy shit. I need to go to bed. All right. I love everybody. And until next time, where's the microphone on this? Bass.